Hello everyone. So today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks in approval process. So let's begin. The first step of an approval process gives you three options when you're setting the step criteria, whereas the other steps of an approval process gives you only two options to choose from. Let me go ahead and show you. So here I have an active approval process with three steps in it. When I choose the first step of an approval process and select the step criteria window, I have three options listed here, which is go to next step, approve record, or reject record. When I go to the second step or any step other than the first one, it lists me two options, which is go to next step or approve record. This is because when you create the first step of an approval process, it does not let you choose the reject behavior of the first step. And when you create the other steps of an approval process, it lets you choose the reject behavior for that particular step. Next, the approvers can be a combination of both users and related users. So when you create a step in an approval process, you assign it to a user, a related user, and you have the option to give a combination of users and related users for the approval steps. The Salesforce still doesn't provide a way to assign the approval steps to groups or public groups. Next, you cannot delete steps in an approval process if it's been activated even once, even if it doesn't have records related to that approval process. So this is an approval process which is being activated, and here it does not give me an option to delete any of the approval steps here. This approval process has not been activated even once, and here it gives me an option to delete any of the approval steps listed here. So the only solution is to clone the approval process and deactivate or delete the old process, because you cannot delete steps in an approval process which has been activated even once. Next, you cannot add new steps to an active approval process or once active process. To add new step, you must clone the process and then add steps. Just like not being able to delete steps in an active approval process, you cannot add approval steps in an already active approval process. To add a new approval step, you must clone the approval process. To avoid having to clone the approval process, you can use placeholders which can be edited in future in case you want to add a new step here. You can set the criteria as 1 is equal to 2 so that the criteria is never met and this step is skipped when the approval process is running. Next, active approval process can't be deleted. Before deleting an approval process, make sure it is inactive and that no records have been submitted for approval. If any records have been submitted, delete them and remove them from the recycle bin. So, in an active approval process, it does not give you an option to delete them. You must first deactivate them and then delete it. And you cannot delete an approval process if it has any records associated with it. Next, once you submit the opportunity for approval, the opportunity is logged for any further changes until all approvers approve the opportunity. So when you create an approval process, it gives you an option to mention here. We have two options, which is administrators only, and the second option gives administrators or the currently assigned approvers. You can choose whom you want to assign it to and save it. Next one. You can assign an approval step to the same user multiple times in a single step. However, Salesforce sends the user only one request to approve the record. So, when you have a user and a related user with the same name, the Salesforce does not send out multiple emails or notifications to the same user. It sends out only one email or notification. Next, when an approval process is deactivated and the record is still in approval process, then it will continue with existing approval process even though the approval process has been deactivated. Let me explain. So you have an active approval process here, and if you deactivate it now when a record is already using this approval process, then that particular record will continue using this approval process until it is completely approved or completely rejected. And if you activate a new approval process with the same criteria, the new record will take up the new approval process. Next, the reject behavior of an approval step cannot be swapped between go to next step and approve record in an active approval process. The other criteria can be changed, including the values. Let me show you. Here, I have chosen go to next step option, and when I choose approve record and try to save this, it will show me an error that does not let me modify active or once active approval process definition. You can set up your record in such a way that you can approve or reject via email. This setting can be found in the setup under process automation settings. Let me go ahead and show you. Under setup, when you give process automation settings, here you have a checkbox which lets you enable email approval response. When you check this checkbox and save it, you can approve or reject in the first line of your email and add comments to the second line of your email. There are some keywords you are allowed to use when you are approving or rejecting via email, which for approving you can choose yes, approve or approved options, and for rejecting you can use no, reject or rejected. So we conclude here. Thank you for watching.